Well, good evening to you. I'm so glad that you can be with us tonight at Forest Lake Baptist Church. And so I want to thank you for watching and for joining us for our midweek ministry update and for the devotional thought for this evening that will follow this ministry update. As I begin, I want to tell you that ordinarily Donnie and I would do these types of things together, but to honor the social distancing guidelines that are in place, we are alternating weeks and filming these things solo. And so we trust that if you want to see the various ones that we do from week to week, that you can just go back on the website and take a look and find last week or the week before on there. Thinking about ministry things that are going on in Forest Lake Baptist Church, the first thing I want to mention to you is the worship time on Sunday and the co-pastor's Bible study. This live stream approach is somewhat new to us, and we are learning on the fly, as we say, and so we want to thank you for your patience and for your feedback. We discovered last Sunday during the time of the sermon that there was a sound issue, and so we're working to identify the source of that. What we have been doing is we have been doing the ministry updates and the Sunday morning co-pastor's Bible study and the Wednesday devotional time here in this setting. We've set up a makeshift studio, which is in the upper room in the college department. And so we stayed in the sanctuary for the sermon because it has a familiar look to our members. But if we discover that that setting is not working well for what we're doing live streaming because of some technical aspect or something like that, we will also move the sermon up here. And so we just want to ask you to pray about that with us and be patient as we work that out. But I assure you we're working on it. And I want to say a word of thanks to Patrick Cochran. He is our technical brain trust at this moment. And so we appreciate everything he's doing to make the live stream or broadcast, as we would say in a broadcasting language, happen, and some other things that we're doing. So on Sunday mornings at 9:30, the co-pastor's Bible study, and then at 10:30, the Sunday morning worship service. And then remember that both of those will be available online later in an on-demand type of setting. And so, if you will, stay tuned in and offer feedback. We know that it might be equipment on your end or your internet signal, or it could be equipment on our end or our internet signal, but we're working to make sure that is absolutely the best that we can make it. Now, in terms of in-reach and outreach, we're doing some things on a rotating basis to reach out to our church family and to keep track of them. One of the things that's happening is that the staff are making contact with everyone, the church membership and our regular guests, through phone calls and through email and through a technology called Zoom, which allows a face-to-face meeting. There are other types of software or applications that allow this. Skype is well known and is used in many settings. And then FaceTime for those who use Apple devices. But Zoom works across platforms. It'll work on an Apple computer or a Windows computer. It'll work on an Android device or an Apple device. And so we're using that particular application. You can find that just by Googling Zoom USA, and there will be an application that can be installed on your computer, and you can set up a personal account. Or you can go to your app store on your handheld device and find that same app and go ahead and set up a personal account, and you'll be in a great position to take part in anything that we do using that technology. We're doing administrative meetings through Zoom, and then some of the Bible study classes are connecting that way. The young adult class in particular, or actually the department as a group, met last Sunday and had over 20 in one group at the same time. They had a great time of fellowship and Bible study online. And then this Sunday, they will be They're separate classes. Those classes have made arrangements to meet on Sunday morning in their historic groups and with their teachers teaching, and so they are looking forward to that. And so if you need to know more about that, if you will let us know, we will get you the information. The various leadership groups in the Forest Lake congregation, core leaders, other leadership groups, will be receiving emails this week about some upcoming meetings. We're about 3 weeks into this, and we know that this shelter in or stay home curfew, whatever we want to call it, is going to be in force until the end of April. And so there's some things that we need to do in terms of the operations of the church ministry. Most of those are routine, boring kinds of administrative things that we do during the week, and nobody ever notices that. But we have a need to do some of those things. So we want our leadership groups to know you'll be getting emails about meetings that are upcoming. Now, if you don't get an email this week, don't worry about it because you don't have a meeting scheduled. But if you do get an email, you'll also get a text message giving you a heads up. And so we will be arranging some online meetings with the various leadership teams. Now, what about church family news? We, we talk about the church as the family of God, and we talk about the Forest Lake Baptist Church family. And those of you that know my particular nuance of identifying those things, or those relationships, as I talk about having the church family and the church relatives and the church friends. Our church family is that group that meets weekly in our facilities when we gather for worship and Bible study. And our church relatives are those people that are related to us in some way. They may have at one time been a member of Forest Lake Baptist Church or historically the Hope Baptist Church, but now they live someplace else. They may be a member of another congregation, but in terms of our faith, they are our relative, or they may be a direct relative of someone in the congregation. Personally, my 2 daughters are members of different congregations, but we're related. And so I count family members of those who are in the Forest Lake Baptist Church as church relatives. And then I talk about our church friends. There are times when there are individuals or families out there, and for some reason they have an affinity to what we're doing. They may have a historic connection in some type of relationship, or they may have been a part of a mission trip or something that we sponsored, and they are our friends. They have an affinity to what we're doing. And so we're seeking to reach out to all of our church family and our church relatives and our church friends in different ways. And this is a primary way, of course, that we're doing that at this time. But I'll tell you that so far, to our knowledge, no one in those 3 groups that is connected with our church family has COVID-19. We've had a couple of questions about this. We do know that we have a couple of members in quarantine. Now, I'm not going to call those names here. And having said that, just as soon as this live stream is over, I can just see the keyboards lighting up somewhere in the world as everybody's on their phone and on their email trying to find out who that is. We don't know that we have anyone that is tested positive. We do have a couple of members who are either in a self-imposed quarantine or they've been tested because of their work. And so if you will, please be in prayer about that. I looked this morning, and by my count, we have 14 members or regular guests, a family or 2 that worships with us regularly, who work in medical fields. Now, some of those are nurses. Others work in, for example, eye clinics. Some of them work in the front office of medical clinics. But all of these individuals are on the front lines in terms of dealing with what our president has called this invisible enemy. And so, if you will, certainly be in prayer for these members and for their families because of the type of risk that they're running on a daily basis. Now, let me remind you in terms of news about the church family to also check your email each week. On Fridays or sometimes on Saturday mornings, you'll get the FLBC news. And we're expanding that a little bit to try and include some other information. And so if you are already getting those, be sure and check your email. If you are not getting those, let us know. You can call Donnie or me directly. You can text us and get in touch with us that way to share your email address with us. Or you can call and leave a message on the church office telephone, and we will get it that way. Or you can email us at office, OFFICE, at flbc.us, and send us your email address, and we will get you on the church emailing list. A March 31 letter went out, changing subjects again. Yesterday, a letter went out about giving. Now, here's what we've learned in recent weeks. We come to church on Sunday, and we fellowship, and we meet one another, and we gather for worship, and we praise the Lord, and part of our worship is giving. And the visible reminder of the plate being passed to the people seated in the pews is a weekly pattern of behavior that's been disrupted. And so in beginning to address the various parts of how we operate on a weekly basis, our first order of priority was the Bible study and worship. And so this is our third week to speak to you this way by video or either a pre-recorded video such as what this will be that you'll see later today and that you'll be able to find online as you want to later on. But the worship we're doing live stream. We're minimizing the number of people in the building, not more than 4 or 5, and we're keeping a very circumspect distance from each other. But we began to evaluate everything we're doing, and unless someone is giving online or mailing in their offering, we're not getting that, and there's no plate being passed. And so we mailed a letter yesterday, that's March 31, and there are some postage affixed envelopes in that letter. Do not send cash. You can write a check, if you will, and send that. Or there's a flap on that envelope that allows you to fill in information if you want to give with your debit card, and then you can mail that back to the church. But you'll receive those in the mail in a couple of days. Please use those envelopes. And if you say, well, I don't need this, and you can give it back to us in the church office at a later date, and we can use that for someone who can put it to use. Our encouragement is to switch to online giving. When you go to our website at www.flbc.us and you look across the top, let me think for a moment. Across the top, depending on which browser you use, or over on the side, if you're using a different type of browser, and this is technology, just trust me, when you see it, you'll know it. You'll see the word give across the top, and those words are buttons. You click on that and a drop-down menu shows up. Or if you have a different browser and it shows up as a little menu over on the right, click the 3 lines and all the sub-menus will show up as a result. So you can click Give Now, and then you can give online. You can give as a one-time gift, or and you don't really have to register for an account to do that, or you go ahead and register for an online giving account, and you can give securely using our website. We encourage everyone to use eCheck. eCheck is where you set up your account so that your bank account is recorded there. Again, this is a secure environment. This is the same security that banks use for online banking. And so you can use that and set up eCheck, and then if you want to set it as a reoccurring gift that goes automatically, that is up to you. Or if you want to log in each week or bi-weekly or once a month to give, you can do that. But there's a tool there for you to set up the way that you would like to give. And then we just encourage everyone to give to the local ministry needs of the church. That's our operating budget. But take some time to look at that and work through that, and you'll see what we're talking about. That saves on postage, and the deposit comes directly to Forest Lake Baptist Church. And so that's how we're passing the plate this week, is by sending a letter and by talking about that in this ministry update. Now, what do you need? As Donnie and Patrick and Tracy and Alicia and BK, all of us are making phone calls to people involved in our different ministry areas. Brad and Calvin are making calls to those involved in the music ministry. And so, when we make those calls, we want you to know we're thinking about you and praying for you. But what happens on those calls is we talk a little bit, we commiserate about COVID-19 and the disruption that it has caused for our lifestyle. And we share some news as we have it about other families in the church and different things that are going on. And we ask for prayer requests, and we say, well, what do you need? What can we help you with? And everybody says, oh, I'm fine. I've got everything I need. And I'm sure that most of our members do. But the longer this goes, the more likely it is that there are some who will discover things that they need, but they're going to be reluctant to go out to get that. Now, in terms of going outside, I thought about this, and I've identified 3 categories here, and I'll share those with you. There are some of you that you need to shelter in to be in compliance with what's going on medically, but you're not really in any danger by going outside. You can get out and go about, and as long as you keep your distance and observe good hand washing technique and don't touch your face, you'll be in great shape. You're not in any risk. You need to shelter in, but you're not in danger if you go out. The next group is made up of members of our congregation who really ought to shelter in, but they can safely risk going out if they're careful. Now, I don't know exactly how to define that group. I just know, for example, that group is real. I probably fall into that group because of asthma. I have asthma. I joke like Mickey Mantle or Yogi Berra or somebody did. If I'd known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. But about 5 years ago, I developed an asthmatic condition. And so I carry a rescue inhaler most places that I go, and I take a medication for it. But I would be in that category of people that really need to shelter in, but I can go out and take that risk if I'm careful. And so that's group 2. The first group, those that need to shelter in but are not in danger by going out. The second group, those that really ought to shelter in but can safely risk going out. But the third group are those individuals who absolutely must shelter in and let someone else go on their behalf. And that's the group I'm primarily speaking to here. I'm going to name that group in these terms. If you are 65 years of age or older, and some people would argue that I might fit in that category. I just celebrated my 65th birthday at a socially acceptable distance, mind you. But if you're in your mid-60s or older and you have some type of health issue that puts you at risk as you add those particular types of issues, it may be diabetes, it may be some type of heart issue, it could be an immuno type thing if you've recently had chemotherapy. There are several different things that factor into that. But for those individuals that absolutely must shelter in and need someone to go on their behalf, we want you to know that we have a group of our members that, just to be candid, they're young, they're healthy, they're not scared of anything, although they've got a healthy respect for this germ. And they have said, we will go and shop for anyone that needs someone to shop for them and to help them get whatever they need. Now, that can be canned goods. That if you have a grocery list of things that you want, that can include meat products or specialty foods if there's needs. And hey, look, I'll go ahead and tell you, if toilet paper is the deal, you tell them, they'll get it. Some of you may have caught the news this morning on ABC News, ABC 3340. There was a truck that turned over and burned in Birmingham, and that truck was loaded with toilet paper. And I laughed all morning about that. I said, who would have ever dreamed that a fortune in paper would burn up on the highway in Birmingham on the interstate? And so we're a little bit tongue-in-cheek about those things. But I want you to understand that if there's something that you need, that if you will let us know, we will be sure to help and get that to you. And so don't put yourself at risk. Call us and let us know how we can help. Email or text us and let us know how we can help, and we'll do that. Thank you again for being with us for the ministry update. We are praying for you regularly, and we want you to know that we love our church family and send our greetings to each of you. And so we're just looking forward to that time when we can all get back together. We'll turn now to our Wednesday evening devotional time and talk about how to cope with the circumstances that we're dealing with today.